Hi, this is Leela Davidson with Parenting Squad, your source for Mission Possible Parenting. And today we have with us Annie Murphy Paul, who has written a book called Origins about how life in the womb affects us later. So tell us, Annie, the full name of your book, because it's pretty interesting.
Yes, it's called Origins, How the 9 Months Before Birth Shape the Rest of Our Lives.
Okay, so I'm not having, there are no more babies coming down this pike, but I was really excited about this interview because the first word in the information I got about you is a new word I've never heard before. Epigenetics. What does that mean?
Yeah, epigenetics.
Epigenetics. I can't even say it.
Well, there's no surprise that you haven't heard it before. It's a new science, really, that's about how, we used to think that once sperm met egg and you got your allotment of DNA from your parents, that was it. The idea was that was a blueprint that then unfolded, that was your genetic inheritance, and there wasn't much that could be done. There wasn't much that could change after that. And now we know that actually the environment continues to modify to affect how our DNA is expressed. So, and that a lot of that modification goes on in the womb, in the prenatal period. Genes are turned on or turned off, they're tuned up or tuned down, and that can affect everything from our intelligence to our temperament to our health in ways that we're just discovering now. So that's the new science of epigenetics, and it's really exciting and a big part of what I write about in Origins.
Okay, so I think that, logically we can all understand how health factors are affected by genetics, but you also say that personality factors are affected in the womb. So what's some of that about? How do we get our personality so quickly, so early?
Yeah. Well, that's really on the cutting edge of what I read about it. There's a chapter in Origins where I go and speak to a researcher at Columbia University named Catherine Monk, and she is looking at how depression in pregnant women during pregnancy can affect the fetus, and she thinks that might be one pathway through which mental illness is passed down in the womb. There's genes, there's parenting after birth, and she thinks maybe being depressed during pregnancy can have an effect on the fetus as well.
So the chemical state of your body?
Yes, exactly. There may be many mechanisms, we don't understand them all, but the levels of stress hormones like cortisol that are in the blood, perhaps how the body itself is regulated, all those things can affect the fetus. So mental illness is one thing that scientists are looking at, and how we handle stress is another big component of how we interact with the world, and that's another thing that may be affected by the prenatal environment. How stressed women are, especially when we're talking about chronic stress, really severe traumatic stress, that can affect the fetus as well. So the idea is, and again, this is the really preliminary kind of early research, is that we're pushing back the envelope on when we start to become who we are. As you say, it's incredibly early, but some of the seeds may be planted as early as the prenatal period.
Okay, so one thing that you found too is that women trying to do too much during pregnancy, trying to be, the pregnant superwoman is not necessarily good for the fetus. What did you learn about that?
Yeah, well, as I write in the book, the fact is that research is suggesting that moderate stress is not a problem for the fetus, but I did want to take on this sort of cultural expectation we have, and as you say, I call it the pregnant superwoman, this idea that pregnant women don't need to slow down, they don't need to change anything about what they do. Once they're pregnant, they're just, just as good as anybody else and can do just as much as anyone else. And I think that kind of expectation, which a lot of women even put on themselves, that can be harmful in the sense that we're not acknowledging all the enormous changes that are going on during pregnancy. We're not acknowledging the demands that pregnancy places on the body and the mind. So that's something that I'd like to see us move away from as a society, and that's something that I wanted to really bring out into the open and critique so that we could start thinking about whether that's really serving any of us well.
So you have some tips for pregnant women that can help the health, the personality, maybe the temperament of the baby when it comes out?
Yeah, well, one of my favorite findings from the research is that women who ate a lot of chocolate during pregnancy, they not only had a lower risk, of preeclampsia, which is a dangerous high blood pressure condition that can occur during birth, but they also had babies who were happier and
Awesome.
better. Who had sort of easier temperaments.
Okay, so eat a lot of chocolate.
Eat a
Good
lot
tip.
of chocolate. Make sure that you get, if you think you might be depressed, get screened for depression and get treatment if you need it, because among other things, the babies of women who are depressed during pregnancy, they have lower birth weights. They are a greater risk for having lower birth weight. They are more irritable. They have a harder time sleeping. So all those things that we think of as starting at birth actually could be starting a lot earlier. And of course, pregnant women, you want to eat as healthily as you can. It turns out that exercising during pregnancy is not only good for you, it's good for the fetus. It's like a workout for the fetus. Don't worry too much about that moderate stress, and seek out social support. Pregnancy, it can be a very challenging time, and I think this is a time when you can lean on your partner or your friends or your family. And, don't be afraid to ask for that kind of help and support.
Absolutely. Well, tell us again the name of your book, and tell us if you have a website too.
Sure. It's the book is Origins: How the 9 Months Before Birth Shaped the Rest of Our Lives, and I do have a website. It's www.anniemurphypaul.com.
Okay.
ANNIEMUPHYPAUL.com.
And we'll post that too. Thank you so much for being with us today, Annie. We are going to go and grab that book and learn how to be smart pregnant women.
All right. Thanks so much.